In today's video, I'm going to show you how to take an old van like this and fix it up and paint it yourself right in your driveway with no painting booth required. So as you can see here in the before pictures, the van is pretty well beat up. Somebody took like a spray can and put this purple strip on the bottom, and then I have 4 sections of the panels that are all damaged due to hitting the same thing on the side. And so I'm not going to go through every bit of body work in this video because it would be too long, but I'm going to show you the basic steps on how to do the painting process once you've done the body work. Now, the type of paint I'm going to be using is going to be a lacquer. You have your choice of a bunch of different finishes. And the reason I'm choosing lacquer is, for one thing, it's very inexpensive, it's readily available, and it's forgiving. So if you make a mistake in any one of these areas, you can wet sand it and try again. So we have a primer, and then we have some sort of base color, in this case white, and then I have a blue strip on the bottom. And then you finish it up with a clear coat. And so this is the base coat clear coat method, and it's really quite simple. And so we're going to do several coats of primer, at least 3 coats of base coat, and a minimum of 3 coats of clear coat because we want to be able to wet sand. Now you need a respirator and an air compressor sufficient size. I'm using this Husky right here, and that works just fine. And then I went down to Harbor Freight and I got me an HVLP gun, and I think I paid $16 for this. And I can't remember if this came with it or not, but I think I bought that. And then I can control the pressure right here at the gun. And then I put the pressure right there at about, I think it was 28. I'd have to get my glasses on. Let me see. Looks like I did it about 25, something like that. And then you can adjust that as you're going along. So that's the bare minimum that you need. And since this is a lacquer-based paint, you're going to clean up your tools with a lacquer thinner. Now, when you're mixing these, there is nothing required. There's like a hardener. However, when you open it up, you have to mix it really well. And then when you pour it into your gravity fed, I have this disconnected, you have to make sure that you're using a strainer. So use a fine strainer at all times to make sure that this is, you don't have any chunks or anything going into your gun. Now I want to do a quick summary and overview of setting up the gun, but I will do another video that goes into all of the details later just to keep this video length somewhat reasonable. So this is a gravity feed, and then I've got the little filter. And the way this works is that you put the filter in like this, all right? And then you screw this in here. Okay. Now you can buy a little stand, but what I did is that I just went like this. And I just put it between 2 and just called it a day. And then I filled it in here with my strainers. So I bought a box of strainers, and I got 2 of them there. I just put them in like that, and then I poured it and mixed it right into this container. Now when you buy this gun, if it's brand new, you want to take this off. And then there's a tool, you want to take this off, and then take some soapy water and a brush and brush everything out. And then you want to run some water through the gun, because what this will do is it'll clean off the oil that is on there. And so then when you put this back on, you have 2 options. If you go like this, you'll have a horizontal pattern, and if you go like this, then you'll have a vertical pattern. And the reason it is because it blows air from the inside and flattens it. So it flattens it like this when it's horizontal, and then you have an up and down pattern like that. All right, so when you get it, you want to open this up a little bit, you squeeze it down, and then you go in here until it gets some firm, and then that is a good starting point. This one adjusts the flow, so the farther out it is, the more paint will go down through. This is the fan pattern, and then we're going to adjust that just so it has nice and even and you don't want like a bow. You want like a straight up and down, something that looks like this. And you just can play around with this. I did it on a piece of paper, and it just takes a couple to get it right. This here is the flow rate, and I open this all the way up, and then I actually control it with this that I bought right here. So you press it down when you're plugged in, and then you adjust this knob back and forth until this is about at the beginning of the green mark as a starting point. All of this is adjustable. It depends on the viscosity of the paint, the temperature that you're spraying, and on and on and on. But I'm telling you starting points. And then it doesn't take too much to get a handle on it. I would suggest that you practice with your primer. And then, because that's where you can practice around, make sure you got your spray patterns right, make sure your technique is right. When you spray, do not go like this, okay? You start moving a little bit, squeeze, and let up. Start moving a little bit, squeeze, and then let up. And you keep this perpendicular to the surface at all times. And I will show that during the painting process. The key to a good paint job really is in the preparation, and here you have to spend as much time as you possibly can sanding everything down smooth and making sure everything is clean and dust-free before you do it. Now I bought a degreaser here, and then spray it on, and then you can wipe this off with a terry cloth, and then you can go over the whole thing with a tack cloth, and what that'll do is that'll pick up all the last little bits of dust. Duplicolor put out a great guide on how to use lacquer, and so here's their instructions right here, and I thought that was really good. It tells you what you can and cannot do, such as lacquer can be applied over lacquer, enamel can be applied over enamel, but enamel cannot be applied over lacquer, and so on. So this is really good. And then if you scroll down here, here are the basic steps. Like over bare metal, we're going to do this procedure right here, and I did not do that too much. I'm down in the dent imperfection, and basically we're going to sand the filler with 600 grit sandpaper, and then finally sand to 800 grit, and then we're going to go on to the steps that I have outlined during the video. 2 to 3 coats of primer. You can wet sand to 1000 if you have any errors, 2 to 3 coats of color, and 3 to 4 coats of clear. And you need 3 to 4 if you're going to color sand. And so this is a really good set of instructions, and I can put a link to these instructions in the video below, but this is the procedure that I went through. And I'm going to summarize it here just because it would just take too much time to do it all in one video. And I'll do some follow-up videos a little bit later to show some of these individual steps. So you need to adjust your gun so it has a nice even pattern, and then the first coat is called the tack coat. And here you put it fairly light and nice even strokes, and overlap each one by about 50%, something like that. And then you're going to repeat this several times to get a nice even coat of primer. So now I'm still on the primer coat. I believe this is the second. And what you want to do is practice with the primer coat. And so what you're trying to do is this nice, even, fairly heavy now on the second and third coat, but not enough to run. And so what I like to do is stand to the side a little bit. And I think there's a shot of me doing this when I can't quite see what I'm doing. Yes, there, right there. You stand to the side and let the light shine from the side, and then you can look at your spray pattern and make sure it's going on evenly. And you want to press the gun, move with the steady all the way across, and then release the gun. And don't move your gun at an angle. Keep it perpendicular to the body, and just try and get as nice and even coats as you possibly can. And so we're going to do this until we have 2 or 3 coats of primer, and then move on to the next. Now I'm on to my color coats, and you always start from the top down, and as you can see I'm at an angle so that I can see the paint going on as best I can with the given light source, and work your way down and try and overload that, and try and get fairly heavy coats, but not so much that it'll run. And we're going to do this 2 or 3 times and get a nice even color. Now that I have the top part done, I've pretty much ignored the bottom part, and then I went ahead and masked everything off around where I want the second color on the bottom. And now I'm going to come through with my blue. I'm going to do the same procedure as the white, except for in this blue part, and I'm going to do it about 3 times and try and get this nice and even. Now that all 3 coats are on, I'm going to very carefully remove the tape, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, we are now ready for the clear coats. Now it's getting a little bit later in the day. My eyes are in the sun, but the van is still in the shade. And so I'm going to try and get this done because I only have about an hour before the sun hits this, and you cannot shoot this in the sun. And so like before, we're going to do even coats, but you want to make this just a little bit heavier than you did your base coats. Now, the final step here, we want to deal with orange peel. And orange peel is something that you're going to get to some extent or another. And because I haven't shot this in a while, I'm out of practice, and so I didn't have it just exactly right. Now this side I've done, which I'll show you how to do it. and this side I have not done. And so you can actually feel the orange peel and hear it. And then I've reduced it over here. And so this next clip, I'm going to show you, we're going to look at that crown, and then I've already shot it, and I'll show you the difference between the sanded version to 3000 and the unsanded. And the great thing about lacquer paint is that we can wet sand this and flatten it, and then we can buff it and polish it. So let me show you the difference right now. All right, now look at the crown of the roof and the reflection. As we move into the unsanded part, that's out of the gun, and you can see how blurry it gets. And so here's the difference between raw, right out of the gun, and then back here to wet sanding. All right, we just sand to this point. So I've got a 1500 and then a 3000, and then I'm putting this on a DA. It's a dual action, so it's a short throw. All right, so there's the 1500. So I've got just some water. I'll go ahead and wet this down. All right, now if I rub my hand here, it's a low tone and a high tone. And so what the 1500 has done is that's flattening those layers. And it's a lot smoother. I can feel a little rough spot right here, so I'm going to go over this a bit more, and then I'll switch to the 3000. So basically I'm going to do that for the entire van, and then we'll come back and take a look when I'm all done. Alright, well, I'm all done, and here is the final result. I still need to put the lights back in and the panel for the hot water heater, but I think it turned out okay, and a lot better than it was before. So even if you've never done this before, it's entirely possible to do this yourself, and you can save thousands of dollars like I did. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you next time.